of fast fighting type. And fast fighting types can be hard to find, but for the most part, I think like, ugh. You get it. It evolves so late. Like Psyduck is so bad. You gotta get it up quite a bit. I don't really see where you would be using your Golduck. Maybe doing like some weird hypnosis strats. I can't really think of anything else. It's like a decently bulky water type with decently good damage, which is a redeeming quality, so I think I'll be putting it in C tier. Primeape is decently fast, which is nice. Fighting types can be really useful in some situations. I think Primeape is like okay, especially if you're using it in Gen 1. Doesn't get too many good fighting type moves there though. Usually you get like a Brick Break TM or something to support it, but it's just like it's like a very bare bones, like kind of fast fighting type. And fast fighting types can be hard to find, but for the most part, I think like, ugh. I think Primeape sits like somewhere here. Arcanine is really good. Intimidate is really good. It's really bulky. It's really fast. Gets cool moves. Gotta kind of look at the learn set to see until when you delay the evolution, but Arcanine is really good. I think it sits in high A tier. I think it's insane. I don't think it's S tier. I don't think it like carries entire runs, but it's like one of the better Intimidate users, one of the best fire types you can get in earlier games. I think Arcanine's incredible. All right. So we'll be doing trait evolution separately because some people play with trait evolution, some people don't. But I guess we can do Poliwrath first. I think Poliwrath is pretty good. It's very bulky, gets hypnosis, decently fast. Fighting types are useful, although a lot of the times it just doesn't get a good fighting type stab. Also in earlier gens, not getting physical water type moves really hurts it. Its special attack isn't like super garbage though. Real time, welcome back for 34 months, I appreciate it.
I finally subbed more months than years I've been alive, actually.
Holy shit.
That was true last month too.
Oh, true. Thank you so much, Real Time. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. So yeah, Real Time, yeah. So yeah, Poliwrath, pretty good, pretty bulky, does good damage, gets hypnosis. You can get it decently early. It's pretty fast. It's above average. It's like somewhere here. All right. Kadabra is pretty good. Psychic types are insane, usually. It's fast, does good damage. It's hard for the AI to counter psychic types. There's no dark type gems. Kadabra is pretty A tier. It's just very frail. You got to be really careful with it. It doesn't like kill a lot of shit, but Kadabra's pretty good. You can get it pretty early too. Pretty hard to catch though. And then Alakazam, easy S tier. Super fast, just one-shots shit left and right. Doesn't even need a good move pool. Almost ban worthy in Gen 1, I think. Alakazam is insane, absolutely insane. All right. Everything that I said about Kadabra times 100. All right, Machoke is like super average. It's like the fighting type of. It's like the Golduck of fighting types, except a little bit worse. It's decently bulky. It can do some good damage. Like it has pretty good damage output. I will give it that, and it's a fighting type, which can be useful. So I think I'll rank it somewhere around with Sandslash. I think it's a little bit better than Sandslash and a little bit worse than Golduck. Machamp, however, is pretty great. You can get some crazy no-guard strats. If you do allow trait evolutions, Machamp is really good. It's so bulky, it deals so much damage. Holy shit, Machamp kills so much hit. It's actually like not super insanely slow either. It's like one of the best. It's definitely not the best, but it's one of the best bulky fighting types. In later gens, it gets access to a lot of good shit. Machamp is really good. Machamp is definitely A tier. It's a little bit slow. Hard to switch in sometimes, but it's very good. 130 base attack is not bad at all. Victory Bell is definitely worse than Vileplume, in my opinion, especially in earlier gens. Its stats are just really awkwardly distributed. It does get Sleep Powder, which is always a very, very strong redeeming quality. And if it's the only grass poison type that you can use, it's usually good to put on your team. You can do Swords Dance strats, which can be like run saving sometimes, so that's another pretty good quality. I think Victory Bell sits somewhere around here, B tier. Swords Dance can be like not very useful at all if you're like pre-Gen 4 though, so be careful. Tentacruel is very good, very readily available. Very defensive, very fast, deals really good damage. Water poison typing is pretty okay. It's bulky and fast, which is really, really, really strong in Nuzlocke. Tentacruel is definitely an A tier Pokemon. I think it's actually better than Machamp and a little bit worse than Arcanine. Alright. I've never used a Alolan Golem. You'll see a lot of Gen 7 Pokemon will end up in this tier. Because I've only done like one run of Gen, or like 2 runs of Gen 7 ever. Okay. The Golem line is incredible. I guess I'll be ranking Graveler and Golem separately though. However, both will be ending up in A tier here because of Geodude. Because Geodude is like incredible early game. It can usually be obtained really early and it's just so damn good. Stab Magnitude, incredible. Stab Rock type moves, incredible. If you're a little bit careful, play around water and grass type moves like you should because you're a good Nuzlocker. You should be able to always keep it out of harm's way. Later on it even has Sturdy if you're really, really, really bad. I think just because of that, Graveler ends up in like mid A tier. Or like low A tier. Somewhere around Kadabra actually. Graveler is really, really strong. And then if you can evolve it into a Golem, it doesn't get like in like that much better, but even with Golem you can actually like late game even do like some rock polish strats in later gens and shit. So I'm gonna be ranking it somewhere around here. I think it's better than Venusaur. Resisting normal type is really useful. Okay. Rapidash is really fast and that's the only thing it can do. Terrible move pool in almost every single gen. Being a fast fire type can save your ass sometimes. Flash Fire can save your ass sometimes, but all around it's just a much worse version of Ninetales. And for that, I'm going to be giving it high C tier. Fire types can be useful though, and for that reason alone it gets C tier. Galarian Rapidash, I'm pretty sure we've used and it was pretty good. The typing is great, fast fairy types are great. Very different from Rapidash obviously, but great coverage. Very fast. I think it's like here. Okay, I've never used Galarian, Alolan Slowpoke, Galarian Slowpoke. Alright. Slowbro is insane. Not even talking like Regenerator that you get in some ROM hacks, just like physically defensive, calm mind, available kind of late, but once you get it, it's insane. Obviously, Gen 1, it's super broken with Amnesia. Psychic types are really, really good. Physical defense plus Calm Mind is insane. It gets Slack off, or you can just heal it with healing items if you play with that. I think Slowbro doesn't quite make it to S tier. Available a little late, and like kind of you kind of need to know how and when to use it, and kind of relying on Calm Mind sometimes. But I think it's high A tier for sure. All right. Oh, okay. Magneton line. I guess I'll be ranking Magnezone as well. The Magnemite line is incredible. It's so good. Steel. The only way Magneton gets a little bit worse here is because of Gen 1. It doesn't have a Steel typing. Other than that, Magnemite is insane. If you get it early, it just plows through everything. It deals a lot of damage, even as Magnemite. It resists like everything. You only pretty much need to be aware of like ground and fighting types, which are pretty easy to dodge. Magnet Pull can actually be an incredibly useful ability in later gens because it lets you encounter more Steel types, and Steel types are insane. I think, let's see. Magnezone. Alright, Magnezone is here. I think Magnezone is easily S tier. It's not better than Alakazam, but it's definitely better than Crobat. And then Magneton ends up in A tier, I think. Bumped a little bit down by Gen 1, but it's still, if you get it as a Magnemite, it's insane. Even late game, it's insane. Steel types are so damn good. It's like Rock type, but a billion times better. It's probably somewhere here. Maybe here. We'll get to Slowking. Oh, I guess we can do Slowking now that we're talking about Slowbro, right? Where is he? I guess I also skipped Polytoad. Whatever, we'll do them later. Okay. So, we'll be looking at Surfetched later, I guess. Farfetch'd is garbage. It doesn't get anything. It gets Swords Dance, but it's never good. It gets pretty good Slash Rate at Gen 1, but it's just not good enough. Outclassed by every single normal flying type. I don't see what this gets that's good at all. At least it's a little bit faster than Parasect and has a few less weaknesses and stuff, so it can maybe tank a hit sometimes, but that's about it. Farfetch'd is garbage, even if you equip a leak for it. Alright, Dodrio is basically a better Fearow in every single way. It's faster, it deals more damage. So that alone puts it like somewhere here. I think it's better than Persian. Dugong is really average. It's bulky, I guess. Stab Ice Beam is pretty good, but also being Ice type makes it weak to fighting and like Rock, which kind of sucks. I think it's that averages it around to be a little bit worse than Golduck, I think. You also only get it like late. It's probably worse than Machoke and Sandslash, actually. Okay. Muck. Muck is... The problem with Muck is it gets like no good moves. And its typing isn't great. Its stats are actually pretty okay, but you also get it so late. I think it's a little better than Arbok, actually, just because it's so bulky. But, like, that's, like, about it. I don't think it's better than Dugong. However, Alolan Muck is really good. Dark Poison typing is so much better than pure Poison type. Holy shit. It's insane the difference that makes. This bumps it up by like 2 tiers, honestly. I think Alolan Muck is like solidly A tier. It's like somewhere here. Getting Dark type stab and like losing like almost all of Poison's weaknesses is really nice. Only being weak to ground is incredible. So good. It's like everything that this Muck wants to be. Okay. Cloyster gets Shell Smash, which can be very cheesy and very good. But other than that, I think Cloyster is really garbage. It has really good defense. That's another redeeming quality. I think it's not F tier. Stab Ice type moves can be good. Maybe you get like Skilling, Icicle Spear, or some crazy shit like that. I think it can be good in very, very niche situations, but most of the time it's just going to be bad. So I think it ranks. I think it's more useful than Dugong for sure. That's about it. It's very niche. Okay. Okay, we'll be doing Haunter and Gengar separately. I think Gengar is really good. Until Gen 4, it was a little bit limited by not having, like, good stab moves that are special, right? But even then, Gengar was really fast, normal type immunity, really good special attack, kills a lot of shit if it hits it super effectively. And if you can't hit it super effectively, you can most of the time take a hit. Also getting Levitate in Gen 3 made it pretty good. I think pre-Gen 3, even pre-Gen 3, it's, like, decent, and then after Gen 3, it's, like, really fucking strong. Pre-Gen 4 makes it, like, I think it's S tier in Gen 4 Plus. I think it's A tier before then, so I think it just sits, like, at the high end of A tier. I think it's not better than Magneton by any means, but I think it's better than Tentacruel. And then Haunter is, like, okay. It's not great. It's, like, here. Fast Hypnosis, some fast moves. It can be okay. It just doesn't pack the punch, and it needs to pack the punch to compete with its big brother. Alright, I guess we'll be doing Onix, because it doesn't always evolve. Onix is garbage. Onix is faster than you would imagine, but it literally has less base attack than Oddish. It's so bad. It can be okay if you get it, like, super early, like an Orberg Mine or something. But even then, that's, like, it's good because you can evolve into a Steelix later. Onix is so bad. So bad. I think Onix is legit F tier. I can't think of anything it does that's good. If you can't evolve into a Steelix, it's just not worth it. It can be okay early game, I guess. I think it's here. Golbat's probably a little bit too high, though, yeah. Hypno Hypno has really good special defense. It just doesn't deal enough damage, but it's still insane in Gen 1. Psychic types are still so good. Getting sleep moves is good. Getting insomnia can be useful. It's like your being psychic type already bumps it up by quite a bit. I think it's somewhere like here. Honestly, Alolan Raichu is so much better than I ranked it. It's probably like here. I guess I could get Wish later, huh? It might actually be better than I think late game, especially with healing items. Yeah, you know what? I think Hypno's better than Kadabra. Okay. Kingler is actually very underrated. You can get it quite early. It's actually faster than you think. It takes a lot of hits, and man, does it deal a lot of damage. Even if it doesn't have a water stat move, even if all you're using is like Vice Grip or Strength or something, you're still dealing quite a lot of damage. You're bulky. You don't have a lot of resistances. You don't have a lot of weaknesses. Like, this can come in a lot of shit, outspeed, and just kill it. I think Haunter is like high B tier. Not Haunter, Kingler. It falls off late, but if you get it early, it's pretty good. I think it's somewhere. I think it's as good as Raticate, but somewhere here. Okay. Electrode. Electrode's pretty good. It outspeeds everything and it has Stab Thunderbolt that makes it at least average. It can set up screens really quickly. It's outclassed by a lot of electric types in later games, but I think for the most part it's really good. As Voltorb it kind of sucks, but usually you get at a point where you can evolve it into an Electrode. Explosion can save your ass in a lot of earlier gens. And I don't mean that as a meme in Nuzlocke. Explosions can be really useful to like reset your tempo and kill something. I think it's better than Dugtrio. And I don't think it's better than Alolan Raichu. It's like here. Executor. So I haven't used Alolan Executor at all. Executor is pretty damn good. Sleep Powder, Stab Psychic, great defensive stats. Man, if it wasn't Grass type and just had the same move pool and just didn't have that Grass typing, this thing would be insane. As it stands, though, it's really, really good. It's definitely better than Hypno. I think it's definitely better than Galarian. It's definitely better than Poliwrath and the Nidos. It's a much better Venusaur. I think it's better than Golem. I think it sits somewhere around Tentacruel's level of power. Probably like here. It just has so many weaknesses, man. Marowak is like a little bit better than Sandslash. And that if you can get Thick Club, it's a lot better. I think with Thick Club, it's like high B tier, and without, it's like low B tier. I guess it averaged out like around the middle, somewhere here, I think. Not the greatest base stats, but it deals so much damage with Thick Club, so that's pretty good. Dealing a lot of damage while you're slow isn't the greatest thing, but it's also has okay bulk. So Hitmonlee is definitely better than Hitmonchan. Iron Fist makes Hitmonchan a little bit better, but still, Hitmonlee is just, especially later on when it has like pretty good special defense and stuff. Hitmonlee is like a pretty good fast fighting type. It's definitely better than Primeape. I think it's better than Dodrio and Raichu. Probably sits somewhere around here. It's not great though. Still dies to like physical flying moves and shit. High jump kick is risky, and I don't know how, like, you get it kind of late sometimes, but I think on average, Hitmonlee is pretty okay. And then Hitmonchan is like, before Iron Fist, it's just like probably like worse Machoke in like every single way, and then post Iron Fist, it's a little bit better depending on which elemental punches you can get. So it's like somewhere between here and here, so it's probably like around, on average, I think. I think I'd rather have a Machoke than a Hitmonchan most of the time. It's probably like here. Lickitung is garbage in every single way. It doesn't have any redeeming qualities. And I've never used Licky. Where is it? I guess we can get to it later. I think Weezing's pretty good. Better move pool than Muck. I like the physical defense like a lot. But it's also not great. Poison types are just so limited. But I think for the most part, Weezing's pretty average. Kind of hard to rank because I don't have but being physically defensive is so much better than being special defensive. It's like insane how big that difference is actually. You face so many more physical attacks. I think Weezing's actually pretty good. Like probably the best defensive poison type that we've had so far. I think Weezing is like honestly low A tier. Actually insane. The move pool plus the stat distribution makes it so much better. I think Galarian Weezing is much better than normal Weezing. Galarian Weezing is actually really good. It's like somewhere around Alolan Muck, I think. I think Alolan Muck is a little better though. Well, that's probably like here. So you would think that like Rhydon gets just better in later gens because you can give it an Eviolite, right? It's probably it's worse in like Gen 4. Rhydon's really good though. You get it pretty late, and Rhyhorn is like complete ass. But it deals good damage. It's pretty bulky. Rhydon and Golem are very, very similar in power level, but I think Rhydon edges it out just a little bit because of like move pool and the ability to get Eviolite in later games. Somewhere here. Chansey with Eviolite is insane. Chansey without Eviolite is like pretty good. I would say it's like A tier. You can like if it deals special damage and you have Toxic, you're killing it. It's not like a poison type. If it has physical attacks, you might be in trouble. If you have Eviolite, you don't even care about that. And if you're using like healing, you need a lot of healing items to heal it up. But late game, it's just it doesn't matter. You have like hyper potions, max potions. Who cares? It's a little bit worse mid game, but Chansey's pretty good. I think it sits somewhere. It's a little niche, so I think it sits like somewhere around like Hypno. Tangela. Tangela's pretty good. Not being poison type helps a lot of the times. Its move pool is kind of ass. Getting Eviolite is nice though. It's underrated, but its move pool is so trash. In like Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. Would I ever use a Tangela? Probably not. And later on, we're probably just using Tangrowth over Eviolite Tangela. Tangela's pretty ass, actually. Tangela's really bad. Sleep Powder is nice. That's the only redeeming quality it has. Not being weak to Psychic is pretty good, too. I think it's better than Cloyster. I think it's better than Hitmonchan, too. I don't think it's better than Sandslash. Okay. Kangaskhan. I mean, you usually don't get the Mega, right? I think Kangaskhan is like okay. It deals okay damage. It has okay bulk. Gen 1, it just dies to special attacks. Stab Return is always nice. It's just really average. It's really rare that you even get to use one, and when it's probably going to underwhelm you. I'd rather have a Dodrio or a Victory Bell on my team for sure. Or a Fearow or a Victory Bell. Probably rather have a Primeape too, or a Pidgeot, I think. I think Kangaskhan's like here. Okay. Seadra's complete garbage. There's no reason. Maybe Smokescreen Cheese, but I guess Smokescreen gets it like here. Actually, Seadra's offense isn't even that bad. It has okay physical defense, right? Never mind. Yeah, Seadra's not that terrible. It's worse than Golduck for sure, though. I think most of the time I'd rather have Dugong or Cloyster. You can get Horndrill strats in Gen 1. That's a redeeming quality. That can, like, help you, like, cheese a fight if you're really desperate. Otherwise, Seaking can be okay in later gens, too, if you get good physical moves early on. That's usually reserved for, like, ROM hacks. Most of the time, Seaking's learn set is just complete ass. Lightning Rod later on, that's a hidden ability, though, right? I think it's still okay in Oraz, but I'd rather use, like, Golduck, honestly. But you can cheese some shit with it, so I'll put it, like, here. Okay. Goldeen is complete garbage, though. That's the problem, right? Goldeen is so bad. It doesn't get any moves. Starmie's incredible. Starmie's so good. Even without, like, the crazy regenerator shit that we're doing in Blaze Black, Starmie's great. Really fast, decent bulk. Psychic Water is a great typing. Psychic types in general are great. You can get this pretty early. You can give it, like, any TM. I think on average, in like earlier gens and shit, I think this is better than Gengar. I think it's like here. Starmie's pretty great. Getting Recover for no item runs too is really good. You can make it defensive, you can make it offensive. Starmie's pretty great. Very, 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 very versatile Pokemon. Mr. Meme. So I haven't used the I haven't used the Galarian version. It's probably pretty bad. Ice types are, in general, pretty garbage. Whatever I say about Jinx probably applies to Mr. Mime as well. Oh wait, this isn't even like the fully evolved, right? Mr. Rhyme is the fully evolved. Who cares? Whatever. Scyther can be pretty okay. It's not very good in Gen 1 because it doesn't get like any good stab moves. But once it gets like Wing Attack and then later like Technician and like good special defense in later gens, Scyther becomes pretty okay. It's very fast, deals good damage. Access to U-turn is really, really good. Most of the time you probably just want Scizor, but you can slap like an Eviolite on this in later gens and like go ham as well. I think Scyther is low A tier. I don't think it's better than Weezing. Being 4 times weak to rock kind of sucks. Being weak to fire sucks. It's really not the best typing, and usually you don't like get good bug moves. In later gens it's pretty great, in earlier gens it's pretty bad, so it averages out around like here. Alright. We forgot Kanto Mr. Mime. It's really bad, I think. It's one of the worst. It's like a worse version of Hypno in like every way. I honestly don't know what this gets. Just being a psychic type probably makes it average though, honestly. Being a fairy type later on makes it a lot better. It's kind of like a psychic version of Marowak, except worse. I think it's probably better than Persian, though. Jinx is really bad. You get Jinx super late, always. Fast stab Ice Beams are nice. Fast stab Psychics are nice. It dies to, like, everything, though. It dies so quick. Fast stab Ice Beams are good, though. But you just get it so late that you can pretty much never, like, actually fully utilize it to, like, its full potential. It dies so fast. It's better than Haunter for sure, no? It's like Ninetales, kind of. Somewhere like here. Actually has decent special defense. You know what? I think this is better than I thought. Oh, it's a 115. I thought it was 100 base special. Yeah. Yeah, this is probably better than I think. It's probably better than Dugtrio. Okay. Alright. Electabuzz. It's like okay. I'd rather just evolve it in later gens, right? Fast Thunderbolts, it's okay bulk. It's probably better than Electrode. It's probably like here. Magmar. I mean, Magmar, the thing with Magmar is it has the Fire Blast, which makes it pretty viable. But like for the most part, it's outclassed by like every other fire type. It has pretty good special attack. I'd rather have Ninetales or like Arcanine. I think Magmar is like here. Haunter is way worse than this, by the way. Haunter is so much worse than like Dodrio. Haunter's honestly probably below average. It's like better than Rapidash. Alright. Tauros is pretty great. Gen 1 it's borderline broken, although you'll probably never get it. Later on it gets Intimidate. Move Pull isn't great for a normal type, but it doesn't really need it. It's just very fast. Does a lot of damage. Stab Return, you know, pretty good. Intimidate, pretty good. This is A tier for sure. Probably like here. Why would you use Pinsir? I mean, it's better than most bug types. It has like decent attack. It's just so slow, and it doesn't really have the bulk to back it up. It's like the Hitmonchan of bug types, kind of. Gyarados! Hello, S tier. Borderline bannable, available really easily in every single game. Intimidate's crazy. It's a little bit worse in earlier gens, but not even. Like not even, because like Gen 1 it can get like, it has 100 special attacks, so it can like Thunderbolt and Blizzard shit. If you get it with a Mega, you can probably ban it. But yeah, Gyarados is insane. You get it for free in every single gen. It's so good. Incredible typing, incredible stats, deals so much damage. Gen 3 is at its weakest. I think Gen 3 Gyarados is probably like mid A tier, but even then it's like pretty okay. Even if you're just using like some non-stab, like return or some shit, you're still like having Intimidate and incredible like Gen 2 is probably its weakest actually, when it doesn't have the special attack anymore. That's when it's at its worst. Other than that, Gyarados is like, on average, probably the best Nuzlocke Pokemon in the game, in the series. All right. Lapras is pretty good. Lapras gets really good coverage. Learning Thunderbolt and Stab Ice Beam is really good. Stab Surf, it's very bulky. It's like a better version of Dugong in like every single way. It's everything that Dugong wants to be, and it actually pulls it off. Being weak to fighting and rock kind of sucks, but it's for the most part fine. It's not super slow either. I think Lapras sits like somewhere around here. It's very good. I think most people would be inclined to put Ditto in F tier. I think with Imposter it can actually be pretty okay. I think Ditto in very, very niche situations can actually be okay. The problem is it's like impossible to grind. That's the main issue with Ditto. You can XP share it though. So that becomes like okay. I think in Gen 1 it's unusable. I think in Gen 2 it's probably unusable. I think it can be very, very, very nichely used. Sometimes if you absolutely have to, it's not going to be useless. Because you always have the advantage over the AI, just by the fact that you're not an AI, like that you can play better than them. And if you're using healing items, you probably have an advantage too. So I think Ditto is actually not F tier. I think Ditto is probably C tier. Having to take a turn to transform and probably being slower is pretty bad though. Although you could have that held item, right? Or like even Choice Scarf or something if you're like really, like if you're doing some crazy ROM hack. I think Ditto is, it's so niche, but like sometimes it'll be okay. I think Arbok's kind of getting fucked here, but whatever. Okay, evolutions. Let's see. Jolteon's like a better Electrode and a better Electabuzz. I think it's even better than like Kadabra. Or yeah, it's somewhere here. Jolteon's pretty good. All right, Vaporeon's a pretty great bulky water type. So defensive. If you're using healing items, it's pretty crazy. It's probably not as good as Lapras, but it's a very good bulky water. I think it's just its stats alone, and like interesting move pool, make it so good. I think it sits somewhere around here. I think Vaporeon's pretty great. Wish is pretty good, but if you're using healing items, that doesn't really matter. Okay, Flareon's pretty garbage in every single gen until like gen, what? When does it get Flare Blitz? Like gen 6? Before then it's unusable, I think. After that it's like 130 attack is pretty good, but it doesn't really have the speed or the bulk to back it up. I want to put it in like low C tier or F tier. God, it just doesn't get anything. Being fire type is okay. And like even if you're just using flamethrower, I think it's like seeking level. I guess it can get, oh yeah, it gets guts, right? Is that hidden? I think guts is hidden ability though, right? It's usually flash fire. Porygon 1 is completely unusable. Omastar is actually not that bad. In Gen 1, I think it's pretty good. In Gen 1, Omastar is so much better than afterwards. Its stats are way better. And then like later on it gets Shell Smash. Just like between Gen 1 and Gen 5, it's so bad. But you usually don't get it in those games anyway, but I guess randomizers are a thing, right? I think Omastar is not bad at all. Pretty underrated, actually. I think Omastar is like a Vileplume tier. Alright. Kabutops is worse than Omastar for sure. Some gens it's a little bit better because of a better physical attack. It's so slow. Swift Swim is rarely going to be used. I think on average Kabutops is worse than Omastar. It's probably still average. It evolves so late, man. I guess that's another point against Omastar, huh? Kabutops is probably like here, and I think because Omastar. But I guess you also get it late. I guess the speedrun of LGP uses Kabutops, right? And it's like not actually terrible. Maybe Kabutops is like here. Aerodactyl's really good. Its move pool is lacking sometimes, but it's so fast. It's definitely above average. I think it sits somewhere around here with like these fast duders. The only problem is you get it super late game, right? But I think for the most part, Aerodactyl is really strong. It doesn't deal like insane amounts of damage, but it can still be pretty damn good. I think it's like here. Snorlax is S tier. Super bulky. Good special defense. Weak to only fighting, and even like other physical moves it can usually tank. Does insane amounts of damage. Has the bulk to back up the strength. Guaranteed encounter in a lot of games. I think it's worse than Crobat. I don't know if that's true, actually. You can set up Curse in a lot of games, too. Honestly, I think it's like here. Snorlax is S tier for sure. Snorlax is pretty fucking sick. I don't think Articuno is ban-worthy. It's pretty good. I think in Gen 1 I would ban it. Because of like how good Blizzard is. It has so many weaknesses. But I think it's like A tier. It's kind of hard to rank. Because I haven't really used it. It's also a guaranteed encounter. Maybe you should just ban it. No, I think Snorlax is... I think if you're not banning Snorlax, you're not banning Articuno. I think Articuno is worse than Snorlax. It's really good in Gen 1, and afterwards it's like okay. LGP and Fired Leaf Green, I think I'd sometimes use it. It's like here, I think. Yeah. I think for the most part you should be banning Zapdos. I think Zapdos is way too good. Moltres? Honestly, not that good. It's like a better Charizard. Really, really good special attack, but it also dies pretty quickly. I think it's worse than Articuno. I think it sits like here. Okay. Obviously you... So, I think Dragonite is really insane because of Dragon Dance. And before then, it's just like, okay. I don't think it's very good in Gen 1 at all. And, like, the thing is, it's a static encounter in, like, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Crystal, right? And for that, it's pretty good. In those games, I would probably just, like, almost ban it, I think. I'm not sure. I think it's like high A tier. I think sometimes the move pool is a little bit lacking and you get it so late that like you just don't get the potential. But even Dratini is like okay with Dragon Rage if you get it, right? I think it's like high A tier. Is it better than Slowbro? Yeah, probably. Dragon Dance is pretty insane. I don't think it's S tier though. I think it's lacking in too many games. Okay. Obviously you're gonna ban Mewtwo. Plus it's post game. I think Mew should be banned too. Move pool's way too good for its stats. Alright. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Pokemon Challenges. I'm the best Nuzlocker in the world. Probably, I don't know. I can't do YouTube intros. Today, we're going to be rating all abilities in Pokemon for Nuzlocking specifically. I thought a lot about what the criteria should be here. So there's like a lot of ways you could do this tier list, right? You could do how good is the ability in a vacuum, right? That would be a way of doing it. So like, okay, so huge power is insane, aerialate is insane, adaptability is insane, slow start is like garbage. So something like that. And that's a pretty good way of doing it. The other way of doing it could be like, okay, you literally just rate like the Pokemon's viability that have that ability, right? That would be the other way of doing it. I think the optimal way of doing this is to evaluate how much influence the ability has on the specific Pokemon's viability that get that ability. Does that make sense? Because if you judge it in a vacuum, then stuff like huge power is obviously like SSS tier, but the Pokemon that get huge power aren't like as insane. So it goes down a little bit in viability because some Pokemon are like garbage without their ability and are like okay with their ability. Does that make sense at all? I think you guys understand what I mean. I think it'll make sense as I go through. I'll explain the tier placements real quick. So S is like extremely good, like it makes a Pokemon like insanely viable if it just has that ability. It's like super influential. You use it all the time. A is like pretty useful in a lot of situations. B would be like it's like a niche ability that's positive in some situations. C would be it's literally a neutral ability that does nothing 99% of the time. And then F would be like a negative ability, an ability that hurts you, right? Before we get into the tier list, Tay, did you know that like only some made-up statistic that I just I'm gonna pull out of my ass right now are subscribed to the channel? 48% of you are only subscribed to the channel. If you're watching, a lot of you actually think that you're subscribed, but you're actually not because the algorithm keeps recommending my videos to you. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, guys, and leave a comment or something. I don't know. Okay, let's get into it. So right off the bat, adaptability is obviously S tier. So adaptability changes your stab modifier from 1.5 to 2, right? So normally your same type attack boost, the attacks that have the same type as you do 1.5 times the damage. With adaptability, they do twice the damage and not 1.5 times. That means, for example, a Hyper Beam from a Porygon Z with adaptability has 300 base power. It's not as huge of an increase as you initially think because you go from 1.5 to 2 times, right? You don't double your damage output. So you do basically 33% more damage, and that is a lot, especially on the Pokemon that usually get it. So you have your, this is usually like a hidden ability on a lot of Pokemon, but a lot of like ROM hacks and stuff give those to you. Porygon Z is an example of a Pokemon that gets it, although it's not as good because it's only normal type attacks. But like those are still pretty powerful a lot of the times. You have your Crawdaunt and your Basculin and your, chat, help me out. There's one more. Mega Beedrill. Oh, Mega Lucario, yeah. Eevee. Sure. So, yeah, adaptability, S tier ability, really great. Aerialate, obviously insane. Not only does it turn Double Edge into a flying type move, which is just straight up better than being normal type, except when you're hitting electric type Pokemon exactly. It also boosts the power, too. If any Pokemon, like, obviously Mega Mens should just be banned in your Nuzlocke. I don't think you should ever be using this thing. But, if there was another Pokemon with Aerialate, it would also be insane. Obviously a great ability. I'm thinking of doing a tier that's above this that's like only on banned Pokemon or something. Oh, Mega Pinsir, I guess. Yeah, true. Yeah, no, this is a really good ability, for sure. And then we have Aftermath. It's not useless, but it's extremely niche. It's like B tier. I guess like bottom of B tier. Like you will use this exactly once during the run. Now, if you can time it, that's really good. I guess this could almost be top of C tier because it's basically like not having an ability except exactly once. But I guess that's more bottom of B tier because C tier is literally neutral, does nothing. If the Pokemon gets killed with a contact move, your opponent takes damage. One thing to note about this ability on Nuzlocke is I always forget to play around it when I'm playing against Pokemon that have Aftermath. It's really important to just like kill Aftermath Pokemon without contact or if you're on high HP. Yeah, it does like 25% damage. It's pretty good. Airlock, I mean, like, it's the same as Cloud9, right? It's good. I would definitely not put this above B tier, though. There's like some times when like playing around weather can be good. It's important to note that it like doesn't remove the weather though, right? It just disables the weather as long as that Pokemon is out. So if you switch back out, the weather will continue. At least that's how it works for Cloud9. I'm not really sure about Airlock, but I think it works the same way, right? Analytic. So analytic means you do more damage if you move last. This is a pretty good ability. I would put this in like high A tier. I actually really like having it on like Starmie or Magnezone in ROM hacks when they can get them, especially on Magnezone. This is a really good ability. I think it's bordering S tier. It's probably A tier though, because having to go last is like a drawback for sure. I really like this ability. Like you consider not building Starmie as fast, not giving as many speed EVs, giving it more HP, and I think bulky Starmie, by the way, is really, really good in Nuzlocke. And you should build your Starmie a little bit more bulky. I think this is an A tier ability. The additional damage definitely does come in handy. It just does come at a price, but on a Pokemon like Magnezone, where you're usually going last anyway, it's really good, especially in combination with Volt Switch. Oh, dude, slow analytic Volt Switch is so good. Slow Volt Switch means that you basically take damage, then you get a free switch to another Pokemon. That's so damn strong. And since you want to be slower on Volt Switch, having the additional damage from Analytic is fantastic. Moving on. Anger Point is really niche. So Anger Point means when you get crit, you get to go to max attack, so to +6 attack. I think this is like a high B tier ability. If you get it, it's like really good. But the problem is it's so inconsistent and you take so much damage when it happens that you usually can't capitalize on it. It's usually on fast Pokemon like Tauros or Primeape, but especially after like crit nerfs, and crits happen less often in Gen 7. Although the crit nerfs on the damage in Gen 6 kind of favor it. You're on low HP. It's kind of like sometimes getting a random belly drum. More niche than Airlock? I don't think so. I think you get crit more often with an Anger Point Pokemon than you get to fight a weather team with a Airlock or Cloud9 Pokemon. There's like strategies you can do where you go like leftovers substitute and you spam substitute until you get crit. Like that's like a valid setup strategy. It's just like very unlikely that will happen. But yeah, it's pretty unlikely to happen. Even if it does happen, you can't always capitalize on it. But if sometimes you're in situations where it does happen and it like, can actually save your ass. It's interesting. It's just way too inconsistent. You could do like a double strategy where you Frost Breath your own. Own Pokemon, you always crit it and then you Anger Point. That's like the only consistent way of like getting this off, I think. Moving on, Anticipation. I'm actually unsure how this ability works. I'm gonna say this for a few abilities. So yeah, this notifies you if the opponent has a super effective move. So if you're playing a blind Nuzlocke or a randomizer Nuzlocke, this is actually kind of useful. I play blind sometimes, right? So knowing that an opponent has or does not have a super effective move is really useful information. Both cases, right? Knowing that he doesn't have like a psychic type move when you bring out your Toxicroak, that's really good, especially if it's a Pokemon like Toxicroak that has a lot of like weaknesses that can be like coverage moves like psychic or whatever. Specifically, if you're playing blind, is useful in a lot of situations. I think Arena Trap is like borderline useless because generally it depends on what game you're playing. Oh, I'm supposed to explain the abilities, right? So Arena Trap prevents your opponent from switching out. Depending on what game you're playing, it's actually like useless because in most games, AI is just not going to switch anyway. And if he does, it's so inconsistent that playing around it doesn't matter at all. I would like put this, I think this is more useless than our Aftermath. It would be, in like specifically Radical Red, where AI switches a lot, it can be useful. If it prevents teleport, it's B tier in my opinion. Okay, it does prevent, I think it does prevent teleport, according to Bulbapedia. So yeah, this does prevent teleport, so this can be useful for getting your Abra or your Ralts encounter. Aroma Veil, what the is Aroma Veil? Aroma Veil prevents the Pokemon with this ability and its allies, including non-adjacent allies, from being afflicted by Taunt, Torment, Encore, Disable, and Cursed Body, Heal Block, and Infatuation. I mean, like, it's okay. You don't see most of these ever. I think I'm gonna reorder the tiers a little bit. I think if it's this niche, I think Airlock and Aftermath should be C tier. Like these are like once in a run, maybe.
Hope to see a lot more of your great content in
usefulness.
The new year. Much love and based appreciation.
Like once in a run, maybe. I think is a little too niche for B tier, in my opinion. Okay, so I think Aroma Veil is like in there. Add a D tier. Fine. So D tiers are the true, actually never useful but never bad abilities. The like I don't have an abilities. I have no idea what this ability does or what this Pokemon is. Aura Break. Aura Break inverts the effects of Fairy Aura and Dark Aura. Instead of multiplying the power of Fairy or Dark type moves by those abilities, normal players, the power of moves of that type is divided. What? Who the cares? Yeah, that's a C tier ability for sure. When are you playing against those auras? What? Okay, next. Bad Dreams is pretty busted. I mean, Sleep is pretty busted. Bad Dreams is pretty busted. If you end up with a Darkrai on your team, it's probably pretty good. So Bad Dreams does damage to your opponent every turn. It's a sleep. That's pretty busted. Although, I guess, like, if this was on, like, a Hypno, it would still be pretty good. All right. Ball Fetch. So Ball Fetch technically does something. It sometimes picks up one ball that you throw. So if you were about to run out of balls while catching a Pokemon, you could get one ball back. So it technically does something sometimes. All right, I'll put these in D tier. Battery raises the power of allies' special moves by 30%. So it's only good in doubles. I mean, it's good in doubles. It's a C tier ability to me. If it is in doubles, 1.3 damage to like ally special attack is pretty damn good. Oh, dude, Battle Armor is one of my favorite abilities in the game. I think it's an A tier ability, and let me explain. It doesn't, on paper, it doesn't sound as insane, right? Not being able to get crit. So Battle Armor just means you can never get crit. But what it actually means is that every Pokemon that has this ability can usually stay in an extra turn, which is huge. Because usually, if you're a good Nuzlocker and you're playing around crits, you always switch out, not when you're in range to die, but when you're in range to die to a crit. So if your opponent has a 3-hit KO on you, right, he hits you once and you switch out, right? If he has a 3-hit KO on you and you have Battle Armor, though, he hits you once, you're in crit range, but you don't care because you have Battle Armor, and you stay in for another turn and attack again. This is what a lot of people miss about Battle Armor. It's an insanely useful ability for consistently getting through the game if you're playing a hard game and you're trying to play around all the crits. Do I think it's S tier is the question. I actually think it is. Yeah, because it's also really good for setup strats. It's also really good for It's also really good for like counter and mirror coat strats and shit like that. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do with battle armor that just becomes a lot more consistent because crits don't exist. It's actually a really interesting exercise in thinking about what Pokemon would be like if crits weren't a thing. And I think if every Pokemon had battle armor, the game would be worse off for it because too many strategies would be too consistent. I think in Nuzlocking, this is an S tier ability actually. All right, Battle Bond. Battle Bond is like so specific. I'm gonna make an additional tier for 2 uncommon. Like you're never gonna have a Battle Bond Pokemon in a Nuzlocke. And it's the same for Bad Dreams and Aerialate. And we can move Aura Break there too. I'll keep Airlock because it's technically the same as Cloud. I guess we'll have Cloud9 in there anyway. Okay, that's fine. Beast Boost. I mean, it is on like a lot of Pokemon. Technically, you probably are not gonna get. You might be playing like a Gen 7 randomizer, getting some Ultra Beasts, you know. I guess you could also be playing a randomizer and getting Darkrai or Mega Salamence or this guy. But I mean, yeah, I think Beast Boost is really, really good. It's Moxie for your highest stat, so whenever you kill a Pokemon, it's the highest stat of the Pokemon, right? That gets raised. It's like really versatile. It's really strong, super insane. I'm gonna put it in 2 uncommon though, because you're probably not using Ultra Beasts in your Nuzlocke. Like there's a pretty good chance that you're not. All right, so Berserk is technically on Drampa, which is available. Berserk is if your HP drops below half, you get +1 special attack. It's kind of like a more consistent but less good anger point. I mean, I think this is a good ability, especially with like Substitute or some shit. You can probably make this work. I think that's a pretty good ability. Nothing too crazy, but if you were to get a Drampa, then Berserk would have a lot of influence on that Pokemon being good. Big Pex prevents your defense from getting lowered, which is actually really useful because Corvisquire and Mandibuzz get it, which are a little bit more defensive, but also getting it on another Pokemon is like not bad. Defense lowering is not like super uncommon, although it is uncommon. It's definitely an ability that sometimes has like a decent amount of use, but I think it's like top of C tier. Nah, it's probably bottom of B tier. Blaze is gonna be the same as Torrent and Overgrow when we get to them. So Blaze, Torrent, and Overgrow mean that so for Blaze it'll be fire type moves, for Overgrow it'll be grass, and for Torrent it'll be water type moves. The power of your moves of those type gets increased by 50% if you're at 1/3 HP or lower. I think this is a high B tier. No, I think this is a low A tier ability. Playing around it is something that you have to keep in mind, but if you can do that, it's really, really good. Swarm would also be in this category, yeah. I think it's actually a really cool ability to have in the game. It's actually one of my favorite abilities. I think we need more abilities like that, and I think it's really cool that the starters always